The wait is over. The Big 12's football schedule for 2012 was announced this week. Now, keep in mind there still could be some minor changes and tweaks to accommodate the Big 12's television partners. They have until July 1 to make requests to shift games. Now, we'll keep you updated here on Big12Sports.com about any changes. Now, let's take a week-by-week look at the conference schedule. The first week, Kansas and TCU hook up in Lawrence, and it will match a high-profile new coach against one of the new members of the Big 12. Kansas is hoping that new coach Charlie Weis will get the Jayhawks back on the winning track. And TCU, which was invited to join the Big 12 when Texas A&M left for the Southeastern Conference, is projected to be a top 15 team in the preseason polls, and they're coming off an 11-2 season and Mountain West Conference championship. Kansas State will probably be favored to finish near the top of the standings, and Oklahoma will also be a favorite to win the Big 12 championship. The Wildcats will be seeking to even the score after the Sooners thumped them 58-17 in Manhattan last season. This game will match two successful senior quarterbacks in K-State's Colin Klein and Oklahoma's Landry Jones. Oklahoma State is coming off one of the most successful seasons in school history, a Fiesta Bowl victory, a Big 12 championship, and a 12-1 record. After winning in Austin each of the last two seasons, the Cowboys will welcome Texas to Stillwater. Oklahoma State has to replace some key players on offense, but under the leadership of Coach Mike Gundy, the Cowboys have proven that they have the ability to reload and keep winning. Also on the final Saturday in September, West Virginia makes its Big 12 debut by hosting Baylor, while Texas Tech visits Iowa State. Texas Tech produced one of the biggest upsets of last season when it went to Norman and upset Oklahoma. Quarterback Seth Doege, who threw for 441 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game, is back for his senior season. The Sooners have had trouble in Lubbock before, but will hope that with senior quarterback Landry Jones in charge of the offense that they'll be able to pay back Texas Tech for last year's loss. Also on the schedule for October 6th, West Virginia will visit Austin to face Texas. Iowa State will take on TCU in Fort Worth, and the Sunflower State Showdown will be in Manhattan as Kansas meets Kansas State. There have been a lot of changes in the Big 12, but one thing remains the same. The Red River rivalry is one of the biggest and best rivalries in college football. This Saturday of Big 12 football will be highlighted by the Sooners and the Longhorns meeting where they always meet, in the Cotton Bowl during the Texas State Fair. As usual, both teams are gunning to finish at the top of the Big 12 standings. Oklahoma has won the last two meetings in this rivalry, including last year's 55-17 victory. The second Saturday in October is the first Saturday with a full slate of Big 12 games. TCU will be in Waco to face Baylor. Kansas State will play at Iowa State. Oklahoma State will be in Lawrence to meet Kansas, while West Virginia journeys to West Texas to play Texas Tech. Iowa State is gaining the reputation for pulling big upsets while exceeding expectations. Iowa State should have one of its more potent offensive units and returns the Big 12's best linebacker duo in Jake Knott and A.J. Klein. The Cyclones' double overtime victory over Oklahoma State last season was the biggest upset in 2011 and prevented the Cowboys from playing for the national championship. The rematch in Stillwater will no doubt have Oklahoma State primed for revenge. Elsewhere in the Big 12, Baylor will be at Texas, Kansas visits Oklahoma, Kansas State will be in Morgantown to play West Virginia, and Texas Tech will be at TCU. There are 4 Big 12 games on the docket for the last Saturday in October. Baylor will travel to Ames to battle Iowa State in a game between two teams that will go into the season with bowl aspirations. 2 games will take place in the state of Kansas. Texas will visit the Jayhawks in Lawrence, while Texas Tech will travel to Manhattan to play the Wildcats. Big 12 newcomer TCU will play at Oklahoma State. The first Saturday in November features a full slate of games. The Big 12's 2 new members will square off in Morgantown as TCU will face West Virginia. Oklahoma State, one of 2 teams to beat Kansas State in conference play last season, will visit Manhattan to play the Wildcats. Kansas visits Baylor. Oklahoma will be in Ames to play Iowa State, and Texas travels to West Texas to play Texas Tech in Lubbock. Last year, Baylor defeated Oklahoma for the first time in school history. Doing it in Norman will be a bit tougher, but this is the week the Bears can show that last year was no flash in the pan. Baylor has started to establish itself as a team that is capable of playing with or beating any team in the Big 12, no matter the venue. And at this point of the season, the Sooners might have their eyes on another conference title. Elsewhere in the Big 12, Iowa State will visit Texas, Kansas will play at Texas Tech, Kansas State visits Fort Worth to play TCU, and West Virginia will face Oklahoma State in Stillwater. This could well be a big game in the Big 12 race and on the national scene. West Virginia is expected to start the season ranked in the top 10, while Oklahoma has won 7 of the 16 Big 12 titles. West Virginia knocked off the Sooners when the teams met in the 2008 Fiesta Bowl. And the Mountaineers come into this season and their new conference off a Big East Conference title and a dominating 70-33 victory over Clemson in the Orange Bowl. Now, there are just 2 other games on the schedule for this week. Iowa State will play at Kansas, and Texas Tech visits Oklahoma State. TCU was invited to join the Big 12 when Texas A&M left, and the Horned Frogs are expected to replace the Aggies as the Thanksgiving night opponent for Texas for this season at least. The Horned Frogs and the Longhorns were longtime foes in the old Southwest Conference, but TCU's football fortunes have improved greatly since those days. Playing in Austin against Texas on national television gives TCU the kind of regular season national exposure it sought by joining the Big 12. Also the week of Thanksgiving, Baylor and Texas Tech will play at Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Bedlam will be in Norman this year as Oklahoma State visits Oklahoma, while West Virginia will be in Ames to play Iowa State. The final Saturday of the regular season will feature 4 Big 12 games. Texas gets a tough assignment as it closes the season in Manhattan against Kansas State. The Wildcats have won 4 consecutive games against Texas and have a 6-2 edge over the Longhorns in Big 12 play. Kansas makes the trip to Morgantown to play West Virginia. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State follow up their Bedlam game with road trips. Oklahoma State will play at Baylor, and Oklahoma will be at TCU. Okay, so there you have it. This season's Big 12 football schedule. Again, a word of caution. There still could be some minor changes and tweaks to accommodate the Big 12's television partners, and again, they have until July 1 to make any requests to shift games. Keep checking with us at Big12Sports.com for any schedule updates. For the Big 12 Digital Network, I'm Wendell Barnhouse.